I think the movie is great. Which movie?
Thank you so much. And I think we have Aggie and Kat and Dorothy with us, live streamed via Zoom. Can we get them on our screen? Here we go. Welcome, Aggie, Catherine, and Dorothy. We have a wonderful audience here, as full as we can be. We all enjoyed the film tremendously. Thank you, and thank you so much for making your time to be with us tonight. Catherine, I would like to start with you. It's an amazing film, and it feels very prescient. You started the film not knowing really that, you know, when it comes out, there will be all these worldwide protests for Black Lives Matter. What prompted you to make that film and at that particular moment?
That's interesting because I think that the work that we've been involved in doing is about ending mass incarceration, which is rooted in the legacy of slavery. And so as the protests over the summer have been drawing white people into the problems and the horrors that have been manifested by police violence and other things against Black people and anti-Black racism, it's helped to bring attention to what's been happening in the carceral system. And so it is very timely that people have this film, not only because the focus on the injustices that people have recognized or have been exacerbated, but also revealed during the COVID crisis and during the uprising for freedom, but also because it shows you that art can provide us a way out, and that art is a path towards imagining a future that is more just. And I think for that reason, it has particular relevance today.
That is certainly true. And like Darren Walker said in the film, you know, art creates empathy, and we need empathy for justice. And Aggie, I want to turn to you. You have been such a trailblazer in supporting artists that, you know, have been under-recognized, women artists, artists of color. And we have been seeing some changes in the art world. Like just, you know, a few days ago, Simone Lee has been announced as the first Black woman to be representing America in Venice. What are your thoughts about that, Aggie? And what more needs to be done?
I think it's great. It's a real tribute to her, and she deserves it. So I was very happy about that.
I assume you collect her.
Pardon?
I assume that you collect her work.
Yeah, I have a few of her things. Not really that many, because I've just gotten to know who she is, but I really
I'm glad to see that.
like
Venice, finally. I mean, it's shocking that it took till now, I have to say.
Well, it's surprising, but it isn't surprising because it's been an all white men's thing for a long time, and then it turned out to be a woman's position that they got women in there, snuck them in there, and but it's still, you know, it's.
And Martin Perrier last year.
Perrier and Colescott, and he was, because I have a Colescott that was a super one in that show, and then who else was Black?
Martin Perrier.
But no, besides him and Colescott and
Simone. Mm-hmm.
I just.
It's the fact that we can just count them on one hand is
Right.
telling, and it's changing, and I hope that people are changing their definition of what's important and what's in the canon.
Yeah.
Definitely. Dorothy, I would like to turn to you. You have been a longtime supporter of the parish. You're a lifetime trustee here. We thank you so much for what you're doing for the parish. And 3 years ago, you convinced your friend Aggie to make a donation to the parish to start the Arts Reach Fund, and we're so immensely grateful to both of you because it has allowed us to include artists that have been underrepresented, to take a look at our operation, what we're doing at the parish, who we want to be, who we want to show, who we want to represent. And Dorothy, how did you convince Aggie?
Well, I didn't convince Aggie. Aggie was honored that night, and she made the announcement, and I was completely surprised, really. I mean, I think Aggie knows what is needed, and I mean, she is really always thinking about what is needed in society, what is needed in institutions. So, and I mean, it's normal for her. I mean, something that's so impressive to me, maybe not everyone knows about the organization Aggie started really 44 years ago, Studio in a School, when New York City was bankrupt and the arts were cut. But this is a program that still goes on. It's evolved. It serves really people in the poorest neighborhoods, in the public schools. It actually makes a difference in individual lives. So, and it's not just I mean, Aggie is still completely active with that, and coming up with new ideas for how we can reach other people. I mean, she invented a program of internships where students who have really sometimes not been out of their own neighborhoods get a paid internship in a cultural institution, and they learn how to hold a job, how to travel to work, how to dress, how to behave in an organization. And we're now spreading it to other cities. I mean, we're bringing those programs to Cleveland, to Boston, to Providence, to Newark, to Memphis, Tennessee, Chicago, and we hope, and Baltimore. So this is who Aggie is.
Yeah, but which is a wonderful thing that she has heard. With this one boy stood up and they were going to give videos of what they'd done that summer to those of us at Bloomberg that had promoted it. And he got up and he said, you know, I come from the South Bronx, and I was really scared to go into Harlem because I thought it was just a dangerous place and terrible and everything, something would happen to me. And I said, you've got to be kidding. But he hadn't been out of the South Bronx, and that was home. And he really, it's very wide ranging for these kids. And when they get paid, so they have an income, and they really broaden where they live. And so that's a great thing about it.
Aggie, one of the turning points, oh, sorry,
No, go ahead.
One of the turning points, Aggie, for you to make that decision to sell the Roy Lichtenstein piece, which you very much loved, was seeing Ava DuVernay's film 13th, which is about mass incarceration. What is it in particular about mass incarceration, about our criminal justice system that that touched you so deeply to make that decision?
Well, it was a movie I didn't want to see. I thought it was going to be too much for me. We were with Cindy Sherman and two friends of ours, Marcus and Ross, and they said, oh, you've got to come. It won't be that bad. It's not like Once a Slave, that movie, which I couldn't see. And they said, come along, you'll be fine. And I thought, well, if I gotta sit near the edge, because if I can't watch this, and instead I was, very impressed by it. It ran through the whole of the incarceration problem and situation for Blacks, and especially brown people. And it kept going up and up and up as far as numbers of people that were committed and had gone there, and until it reached a terrific amount of people. And I was really taken by the movie and taken by Ava, who I met subsequently and I liked a lot, and taken by some of the people that I've worked to get people to come home and to have safe returns and have enough so that they're not just dropped in the middle of Canal Street and with no money and told to try to make their way. That Susan Burton was one of the people we met first, and she's made safe houses for women that are coming home, and it just goes on as they'll tell you, it goes on and on. But when Dorothy was talking about a studio in the school, she mentioned that the program had expanded now, but she is part of what's really helped the program go further, and it really has made a difference to take it to other cities. And we made just a small dent, but we're going to make more, and I think it's going to be very successful.
I think it's interesting, Corrine, how the studio in a school is a direct line to Art for Justice. And that sometimes people see these as two very different programs, that somehow studio in a school is children, education, and Art for Justice is about the carceral system. And actually they have many, many things in common, including finding a voice for people who are marginalized, who are, Aggie went into the art world. She was friends with Roy, and there was this heyday with Dorothy, and they had such a fun, small community that was really focused on these incredibly visionary white men who were in the art world and who were creating an art world. And they were part of that. And it was an incredible opportunity. And then suddenly there was this chance to open that opportunity to women, to say, where are the women? Aggie would go to the galleries and there was great art, but it was all men. And then where are the people of color? And I feel like that's what Studio in a School was about, was saying, how can we help children learn the critical thinking that is necessary to survive and thrive? And then later it was, how can there be so many people behind bars? Over 2 million people are behind bars, and over 4 million people are under supervision in parole or
you could, yeah.
Yeah, and that there's just this sense of being able to say, like, where are the voices, how are they missing, and who are the people who could help us make sense of this current situation and take us out of it. And I feel like, Dorothy, that's what you guys have done in Studio in a School, is to really recognize that children need to know that they have an opinion, a subjectivity, and to get a language that allows them to start solving problems.
Right, a feeling of being worthwhile. Aggie, I was going to say, you definitely have the empathy gene. So when you were younger, I mean, did you have that feeling for people that you thought were less fortunate?
Well, I had that feeling for animals. We had quite a few animals on what wasn't a farm, but was a farm. But I always felt sorry for the animals when they died, and if they died, which they did,
Which they do.
we had hamsters around, and they used to get caught in the dryer of the house, and I was just
What were they doing
freaked
in
out
the
about-
dryer?
well, escaped from their cage. And they went into the dryer. And
Oh, God.
I
that's
can relate to that, Agnes.
You still have that for animals. I mean, I think that's still there. I mean, I know it certainly is for me. So, you know, but you have a kind of creativity, which I know you don't think you do. But, you know, I was thinking about it, and I mean, you happen to really be drawn to art and fall in love with art and study it. But I think anything you would have been drawn to, you would have paid the same attention. And, you know, if it were another field, you'd be reaching out, you know, to bring people into that field. I also want to say that I think the art world is more, you know, is quick to respond. I mean, to trying to change things, like helping, because I mean, this was really, I always felt that there was racism, but the killing of George Floyd and the global marching, I mean, you realize there's slavery. We never really got over slavery. We got over it for a few years after the Civil War. And
that
that was it. And of course, there are so many places around the world where people are enslaved, the countries where women are still enslaved. But the important thing is that you've actually made a difference where you live. I would say that you single-handedly changed the culture of the Museum of Modern Art.
well,
No, I'm really, took a while. You've been working there with them for a long time, but
Since
it's a different museum because of you.
Yeah, 66,
67.
since 67.
Well, I was just on the painting and sculpture.
But
Committee,
I
yeah.
think it's nice that someone else is saying that, not just
Yeah.
It was
me.
really interesting.
Thank you, Dave.
No, it's,
Acquisitions, right, that they made, what you're talking about in the film. You know, some of the artists that had been around for a long time and hadn't been recognized, then suddenly, you know, years and years later, MoMA acquires these works. And I think that's happening in many museums and art institutions right now. So it's a good change.
it's not just the artists. I have to say, when Aggie is involved with the museum, she meets everyone that works there. She's personal with the guards. I mean, she does not do things lightly, really. It's,
The guards are the ones that I like best.
yeah,
But they're really a terrific bunch, but they're taking early retirement because so many museums
Oh,
are
yes.
cutting down on their staff. And so really there's hardly anybody that I know there anymore, but there's
Tunji is there.
Tunji.
Tunji's in the film.
Yeah.
right. But it's a really important thing. What it shows is, you know, that you recognize people as human beings. I mean, it's not what their title is. And I mean, it would be a much kinder world if more people felt that way.
I
It
think
would be
that's
much
such a
fairer
beautiful
world.
part, Dorothy, that it's like, it could be you or Roy or Tunji, but that for Aggie, the art is just a vehicle to have relationships with people. And, you know, people ask me a lot, like what I learned from making the movie. And you know, what I learned about Aggie. And I really did learn that to her, art is about listening, because it's about the artist. So it's about hearing what the artist is saying. And to me, you know, when you are falling in love, you want to ask a lot of questions, right? You want to listen, you want to learn and hear about the other person. And that's the the questioning, the conversations, which you're a part of in the movie, there's all these conversations and they're about listening. And so to me, the art is about love, and that's what you're talking about. It doesn't matter, you know, what society places on you. Aggie's interested in listening and in loving. And I love that. And so are you, Dorothy.
Yeah, well, I have to say that your mom is a really good example. The other thing, you know, when going to dinner at Aggie's, it wasn't really just artists. I mean, you met, I mean, we went there for dinner one night and Kofi Annan was, you know, who's the head of the UN, was there. I mean,
Very general.
no, that's right. You just,
Amazing.
I mean, it was a connection of worlds. And sometimes we met other artists that we knew of, but we didn't actually know. We had to know them at dinner.
Well, the thing about Kofi Annan, which was really great, was he was a twin, and Catherine had.
Oh, yes.
And so we went over when they were just being carried. They were really young, and he was friends with them. And you know, the last time we saw him with the family, the kids were much older then, and they really did appreciate what he was like.
Yeah, one of them is, yes, you know, Dorothy, named Kofi.
Yes, I do.
And it was very sweet because when he held the babies when they were really little, like Aggie, the first time he met them, he was holding both the babies. And he turned to Kofi and he said, "You're Kofi," because Kofi Annan's name was Kofi Ata, which means second born twin on Friday in Ghana, in the Ashanti religion. And boys born on Friday are all named Kofi, and my twins were born on Friday. And he said, "You're a twin." And then he turned to Rio and he said, "You're Kofi too."
Catherine, can you tell us how the film has changed your relationship with your mother, if at all?
Me?
Yes, or vice versa.
For answering, how has it changed your relationship with me?
Well, oh, of course it has, but it's just made me more appreciative of you. You know, I understand you more. I know more about you. You know, I see your talent, and that's good.
And Aggie, what would you want people to take away from this film, or Catherine? And what would you say? What can people do to engage in issues that they care about?
Well,
Because
the
you
first
have
thing
such
you
a
could do
personal
is
relationship to people, but what would you tell people who are watching tonight?
to vote, first of all, which is really important. But I think beyond that, there's a lot that they can do. Everybody is doing it. A lot of people are doing it, rather, and they're making people aware of those in our country that have had secondary lives and not had lives that they deserve because they're either poor or they are Black or they're misunderstood by a lot of people, not for any reason that's good. And so this is where we're coming to a place where things are more equal, and they're more, at least people that are secondary, which we met a lot of the people that have come out of prison that now in Florida, they had a wonderful vote that you must have heard of, Dorothy, where they voted that all these people that had served time could vote. And this was, they had 75% of the people that were in the state voted for this. And it's a wonderful thing, but the governor slapped restrictions on them, and so they have to be paid for. But they're
But
That's
Aggie and
been done.
LeBron are
Yes.
helping pay the fines and fees.
Yes, didn't
make
Art for
sure that-
Justice and that LeBron, your relationship with LeBron, I mean, is so important.
No, but it's true that they have helped all join together, many people, to make sure that the fines and fees are paid for formerly incarcerated people so that they can vote, because that is tantamount to a poll tax and it's illegal, and the Republicans are pushing it. And so, you
Well,
know, somebody said, what do you want to take away from the film? And they said, I want to take Aggie into the voting booth with me. And I thought, what I want people to do is take everyone from the film with them, whether it's one of the grandchildren or Dorothy or Glenn Ligon or Julie Meritu or Abby Disney or Darren or Russell Craig or anyone in the film that you identify with or believe in. Take them into the voting booth with you and make sure that you vote all the way down the ballot so that we get the judges and the prosecutors. A lot of people don't even know prosecutors are elected. And it might seem like that's not what the movie's about, but that is what the movie's about.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Dorothy, would you like to make a last statement? I would love to talk with you all night, but we have a second screening.
Yes.
We could wrap it up.
No, I mean, just that, I mean, for me, you know, I've learned a tremendous amount, one, by being on the board of studio, you know, in a school. And, you know, I will say one funny thing, like I always thought everybody was older than me, but now I'm older than everyone. I mean, Vice President Biden's younger than I am. Donald Trump is younger than I am. But
That's really cute, writing it down.
Aggie and I are about, really just about the same age. And when I see her strength and carry on, I feel, right, I can do it. I'll show up.
You can do anything, Dorothy. You're incredible.
Yeah.
You're all incredible. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Bye.